Have you ever felt like the ground beneath shared facts is just eroding? Like maybe people are living in totally different information realities.
Yeah. It's a feeling a lot of people have, I think.
It feels like more than just, fake news here and there. It seems deeper, more pervasive somehow.
Exactly.
Today, we're really going to get into a profound work that unpacks this. Truth Decay, an initial exploration of the diminishing role of facts and analysis in American public life. It's by Jennifer Kavanagh and Michael D. Rich from the RAND Corporation, published back in 2018.
And it's really a foundational piece. It offers this analytical framework for understanding what's happening, especially in American democracy.
It really does. And just a quick note before we jump in, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
Right.
So our goal today is to unpack what truth decay actually means, how it shows up, why it's happening, and what the consequences are. We'll be drawing directly from the book's systematic examination.
Sounds good.
So let's start right there. What is truth decay? The book is super clear. This isn't some philosophical debate about absolute truth.
No, not at all. It's much more practical.
Right. It focuses on how facts themselves are becoming less important in public life. The definition they use is the diminishing role of facts, data, and analysis in political and civil discourse.
It's about the role facts play, or maybe don't play anymore.
Exactly. Not defining truth, but watching its utility just fade in public conversation.
And what's really insightful, I think, is how the book breaks it down into 4 specific, interconnected trends that really characterize this whole phenomenon.
Okay, let's hear them.
So first, there's this increasing disagreement about objective facts.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff where there used to be generally a consensus.
Like what sort of things?
Well, think about climate science or maybe economic data points. Things that were, a baseline for discussion are now heavily disputed.
Okay, yeah. Trend 1. What's next?
Second, there's a blurring of the lines between opinion and fact.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge, especially in how media presents information. It makes it really tough for the average person to tell what's what.
I can see that.
Third, and this is a big one too, is the sheer increase in the volume of opinion. Just so much more opinion swirling around in the information ecosystem, often overwhelming the factual stuff.
Drowning it out, almost.
Yeah, exactly. And fourth, there's a significant declining trust in respected institutions. These are the places people used to go for reliable information: academia, government agencies, established news outlets. Trust is eroding there.
Wow. When you list those 4 like that, it doesn't feel like just an academic idea, does it?
Not at all.
It's like you see it playing out constantly on the news, scrolling through feeds. What strikes you about how these 4 things working together make today's challenge different?
It's that combination, the synergy. The book points out that while maybe we've seen elements of these before, having them all hit so hard together creates this vacuum.
A reality vacuum?
Yeah. When trust goes down and opinions are everywhere and the lines are blurred, the very basis for shared understanding just crumbles much faster. It's like trying to build a house when everyone's arguing about what a brick even is.
That makes perfect sense. And it leads right to the next question. Is this actually new?
No.
Or are we just seeing history repeat itself? Because, declining trust, blurred lines, feels familiar.
Right. And the book tackles that head on in Chapter 3. It looks back at American history.
So have we been here before?
Well, yes and no. The book highlights 3 earlier periods where some of these trends definitely popped up.
Okay, like when?
First, the 1880s to the 1890s. That was the era of yellow journalism, the Gilded Age. Lots of sensationalism, sometimes trumping facts.
Right, Hearst and Pulitzer.
Exactly. Then the 1920s to the 1930s, jazz journalism, the Great Depression. Another period with unique challenges around information and public trust.
Okay, and the third?
The 1960s to the 1970s. You had the rise of new journalism, the Vietnam War, a time when media norms were really challenged, and skepticism towards government and other institutions definitely grew.
So parallels exist, but here's the kicker, right? The book argues pretty strongly that this time is different.
It does. While acknowledging those historical echoes, it makes the case that the current version of truth decay is, and I'm quoting here, more severe and comprehensive than anything seen before.
More severe and comprehensive, so not just another cycle. Something feels different in kind, not just degree.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
And it's a bit chilling, but also maybe offers a sliver of hope. Societies have recovered from information crises before.
True. But the scale now, it makes you ask, what's driving this? What forces are making it so much worse this time around?
And that's the core of Chapter 4. The book lays out 4 primary drivers. First, cognitive processing and biases.
Meaning, just how our brains work.
Pretty much. Things like confirmation bias. We look for stuff that confirms what we already believe. Or the availability heuristic. What we heard most recently feels most true. These aren't new human traits, but our current information environment just pours gasoline on them. It's so easy now to get only the information that confirms your biases, to live in that echo chamber.
So human nature hasn't changed, but the world around us has, making those old biases way more problematic.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Which leads to the second driver, and this is arguably the biggest new factor: changes in the information system itself.
Social media, the internet.
Yep. The rise of social media completely changed who gets to speak and how fast information or misinformation spreads. And at the same time, traditional media faced huge economic pressures, shifting more towards opinion because, frankly, it could be cheaper and easier to sell.
Right. It's like the internet and social media weren't just changes, they were accelerants, rocket fuel, like you said, on those biases and the media shifts. Okay, that explains the intensity. What else?
The third driver identified is competing demands on education systems. The argument is there's been less focus on teaching critical thinking, media literacy, exactly the skills people need most right now to navigate this mess.
Kind of weakening our defenses just when the attack is strongest.
You could put it that way. And finally, number 4, political, socio-demographic, and economic polarization. This division leads to these deeply entrenched separate realities for different groups. If groups live in different information worlds, how can you find common ground?
It makes shared facts almost impossible to agree on.
Very difficult, yeah.
So given all these powerful drivers, what are the consequences? What happens to a society dealing with this? Chapter 5 goes into the damage.
And it's significant.
First off, when you don't have shared facts as a basis for debate, you get an erosion of civil discourse.
Right.
Productive conversation just becomes impossible.
Absolutely. How can you solve problems together if you can't even agree on what the problems are based on facts?
And that leads directly to political paralysis.
If policymakers can't agree on the basic terms, you see things like government shutdowns, delays in appointments, constant policy flip-flopping. Society gets stuck.
It feels like we see that a lot.
We do.
Ugh.
Beyond that, there's this growing alienation and disengagement. As trust goes down, people just check out. They participate less in democratic processes, which, weakens the whole system further.
And it creates this cloud of uncertainty, doesn't it? Both for the country and for individuals.
Definitely. And that uncertainty isn't just a feeling. It has real economic costs. It damages international credibility. Think about it. How can a country lead or be trusted if its own foundational facts seem constantly up for grabs?
It really underscores how vital critical thinking is, both for society and just for us individually, trying to make sense of things.
It really does. And this raises an important question about how we process information. And speaking of processing information, we wanted to briefly highlight our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments, offering AI book analysis designed to inspire reflection and rational thought.
Great point. Okay, so we've talked about trends, drivers, consequences. What about the actors? Who are the agents, as the book calls them, that are actually contributing to this decay, intentionally or not?
Right. The book identifies several key groups. First, media organizations.
How so?
Well, the shift towards more opinion-based programming we mentioned, it's often driven by cost and audience tailoring, but the effect is blurring that line between fact and opinion for viewers.
Okay. Ooh.
Then you have academic and research organizations. Now, these are usually sources of factual information, but sometimes intense pressure to publish or maybe the influence of specific funders can unintentionally lead to findings being presented in a misleading way or selectively. It subtly chips away at trust over time.
Interesting. Not necessarily malicious, but still contributing?
Sometimes. Then there are political actors in government institutions. They might spin facts heavily, sometimes to the point of distortion or, fail to deliver on promises, which erodes public confidence.
Yeah. And the last group?
Foreign actors. This is a serious one. There are state and non-state actors who deliberately spread disinformation or amplify divisive content online. Their goal is often to sow confusion, blur those lines, increase polarization, and ultimately weaken democratic societies from the outside.
That's a sobering list of contributors.
It is.
And a key point the book makes again and again is that this isn't just a list of separate problems. It all works together as an interconnected system.
Exactly. The trends, the drivers, the agents, the consequences, they all feed into each other. It creates these complex feedback loops. The book actually says these interactions create a web that increases both the complexity of truth decay and the challenge of identifying and implementing workable solutions.
A tangled web. That makes sense. It's not just one thing you can fix easily.
No. And seeing it as a system helps connect the dots to some bigger fundamental themes the book explores.
Like what?
Well, obviously, democratic theory. How essential are shared facts for democracy to even function? How can you have constructive debate or make collective decisions without some agreed-upon reality?
A fundamental question.
It also touches on epistemology, but in a practical way, helping people distinguish between facts, analysis, and opinions in their everyday lives. Then there's power and information control. How is truth decay exploited? Who benefits politically or economically when facts are muddy?
Right. And you see how that plays out with foreign interference, too.
Absolutely. And it impacts social cohesion. When different groups live in separate realities because they don't agree on facts, it frays the social fabric, threatening national unity.
Yeah.
The book also looks at educational systems. Traditionally, schools are where you learn critical thinking. But if those systems are under stress or not focused on media literacy, they can't act as that effective immune response against misinformation. They're crucial, both potentially contributing to the problem and being key to the solution.
A double-edged role there.
And finally, technology. It's clearly a massive driver of the problem, the speed and scale of social media, for instance. But technology also holds potential solutions, like advanced fact-checking tools or platforms designed for better discourse.
So it's both the arsonist and potentially the firefighter.
Kind of, yeah. It's complicated.
Okay, so given this complex, systemic challenge, where do we even begin with solutions? What does the book suggest?
Well, it doesn't offer easy answers, because there aren't any. But Chapter 6 proposes a really comprehensive research agenda. It's basically a call to action for researchers, organized into 4 mainstreams.
Okay, what are they?
First, historical and international analogs research. Basically, look at how other societies or our own past dealt with similar information crises. What can we learn?
Makes sense. Learn from history.
Second, data and trends research. We need better ways to track and measure how truth decay is actually manifesting right now with solid empirical evidence.
Get a clearer picture of the problem.
Third, mechanisms and processes research. This is about really understanding the system. How do these feedback loops work? What are the precise causal links? Digging into the how.
Understanding the engine driving it.
Exactly. And finally, solutions and responses research. This is the most action-oriented part. Develop specific interventions, whether educational programs, tech tools, policy changes, and then rigorously test them to see what actually works to counter truth decay.
So it's a roadmap for figuring out solutions rather than claiming to have them all figured out already.
Precisely. It's about building the knowledge base needed to act effectively.
And that rigorous approach really reflects the book itself, doesn't it? You mentioned the research behind it.
Oh, absolutely. The methodology was extensive. They held structured discussions with over 170 RAND staff across different fields, talked to external groups, educators, journalists, business people, reviewed over 250 articles and books, and did that deep historical analysis we talked about.
That multi-pronged approach gives it a lot of weight.
It really does. It adds credibility.
And yet, despite all that academic rigor, it's actually readable. It manages to be accessible to a broader audience, which isn't always the case with reports like this.
That's a key strength. They use clear definitions, lots of concrete examples, and it's organized very logically. It avoids getting bogged down in jargon, which definitely helped it reach more people.
And crucially, it took a nonpartisan approach, right?
Yes, and that was widely praised. They were careful to use examples from across the political spectrum, avoided loaded language, just stayed analytical. That impartiality was key to it being taken seriously by diverse audiences and fostering a more productive conversation.
Which probably helped it get noticed in some pretty high places. Didn't President Obama put it on his reading list?
He did. He called it very interesting and made that point about how, selectively sorting facts is self-defeating for a society that needs reason and debate to thrive. That kind of recognition gives a work like this significant reach.
No kidding. So what's been the impact since 2018? Has it influenced things?
Definitely. It's had a clear influence on policy discussions. that research agenda they propose. It's guided real studies on things like media literacy, why people resist factual information, even vaccine hesitancy.
So, sparking further work.
Yes, and educational institutions have picked up on it too,
Huh.
incorporating the concepts into curricula. It really helped establish truth decay as a recognized field of study. RAND itself has continued to build out research based on it.
And just the term itself, truth decay, seems to have caught on.
It really has. It entered the public lexicon. It's a useful shorthand that helps people think beyond just fake news and see the bigger systemic picture. That shift in language is actually quite important for understanding the problem properly.
That makes sense. It frames it differently.
And one last point on its impact. While the book focused on the U.S., the framework itself has proven really useful internationally. Researchers and policymakers in other democracies are using the concepts to analyze their own information environments.
So its relevance goes beyond just the American context.
For sure. The challenges are often global, even if the specifics differ.
Okay, so wrapping this up, Truth Decay really feels like a landmark work. Its thorough analysis, combined with that forward-looking, solutions-oriented approach, offers vital guidance. For policymakers, educators, journalists, really for all of us citizens trying to navigate this stuff.
It truly does. And maybe a final thought for people to mull over is just how fundamental this is. A shared understanding of facts isn't just some nice-to-have political ideal. It's the actual bedrock. Without it, constructive dialogue, collective problem-solving, it all becomes incredibly difficult, maybe even impossible.
A sobering but essential point. For more in-depth analysis like this, designed to spark reflection and rational thought, do check out our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments, and explore our podcasts.
Please do.
Subscribe, share, purchase via link, and think critically.